Hello, everyone, and welcome to this installment of the Daily Canon Tactics Board. Stephen Bradley here, bringing you the tweaks and quirks and a rather sweat-filled edition of the Daily Canon Tactics Board. It's currently 27 degrees here in Portlaoise. It's awful. Like, Ireland was not built for heat at all. It's we've already got water restrictions around. So if you are suffering of this heat, trust me, this rather huskier gentleman is suffering with you, but never mind, we had good news today. Albert Sambi Lokonga has signed for Arsenal. It's a good signing in my opinion, and over the next 10-15 minutes I'll explain why. Regular viewers will know that this is usually for tactics board, and I show you on pitch where players are going to fit in and where games have gone awry, whether Arsenal won or lost. And this will be, a little bit different because it's a player review, but yeah, for those wondering why, Stephen, why haven't you reviewed the first two pre-season games so far? It's very simple. And before I continue, if you do like this content, feel free to like, comment, subscribe, the usual jazz. Any interaction is more than welcome. We've already got a lively comment section already. Any help, if you do, like I said, if you do enjoy this content, feel free, leave it a like, and anytime either a new signing or a game is played, you'll get a video in your inbox. It's as simple as that. But for the first two preseason games, here's why we didn't do a video. Look at all that red. I mean, it's hard enough to, come up with patterns of play and look at where Arsenal are lining up when it's 11 on 11. When it's in essence 22 on 22. I mean, I don't know what Tom Smith didn't do, to not get a game, but when 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, when the 22 Arsenal players get games, patterns get fractured, formations get mixed up, and people just line up, and they're out there to get a run. They're not out there really to play any sort of tactical guide. But we will show towards the end of the video, as you can see here, how they did line up, kind of. But two takeaways, basically, from the first two games. Number one, Nuno Tavares is going to get games as an Arsenal player this season. It's absolutely not a question. He fits into the way Arsenal play like a glove. He's very comfortable on both feet. He's exceptionally quick down the left wing. And yeah, now Arsenal have a proper backup at left back. Simple, Tierney, when he inevitably picks up a 5-match injury, now we don't have to go, oh God, we've got no one there to play there. We don't have to put a square peg in a round hole with either Ainsley Maitland-Niles or Granit Xhaka. We now have a proper left back to cover our left back. And yes, the fact that he took his goal against Rangers on his right foot is encouraging, because he's not awful cutting in on his right. He looked very comfortable side-footing it into the far corner. So maybe even at right back, he might be an option. So for 8 million, he looks grand. Look, if in a couple of years we're still playing, we transition to playing 5 at the back regularly, just because it's the fashion, just because it works, and Kieran Tierney is played as an inside centre back, as almost a de facto impression of a Cesar Azpilicueta. Tavares can play left wing back, no problem, which means Saka doesn't have to play left wing back. Yes. So that's it. And secondly, this new set piece coach from Manchester City, I hope he's done his homework. 3 goals in 2 games from corners ain't great. Now, to be fair, Tavernier, I always used to call him James Tavernier. I mean, just because he's English, you would not think it's Tavernier, but it is. But he's a fantastic set piece taker. Has been for years now. And, Rangers took full advantage of that. And as soon as Arsenal thought it was going near post, he goes far post. And as soon as Arsenal think it's going to go far post, he went near post. So definitely some work to do on set pieces. But our old set piece coach has gone home, basically, to manage it close to his heart. And they've already replaced him. So fingers crossed that those little kinks get worked out in the next few weeks, because it's definitely an issue right now. But apart from that, from the first 2 games, not a lot to talk about. Aubameyang is getting, into those usual positions as usual. Arsenal maybe playing a little bit more direct than usual, but apart from that, it's pretty much the same as what it was at the end of last season. So maybe once new players start rolling in through the door, Tavares last week, Sambi Lokonga today, and then hopefully, fingers crossed, Ben White in a couple of days, we'll start to see them getting integrated into the squad and seeing how they fit in. But on Sambi Lokonga, two things stand up for me. Number one, he's playing a lot of games already. Like we're not getting someone in that's a prospective talent from another club that's only played 10, 15 games. But Nuno Tavares last year played 14 games, 7 as a sub. Like we're getting in someone who has legitimate experience starting 33 out of 34 league games. Like this lad has played a full season, almost 2 of games, and as a result, we're not bringing in someone who's lacking in experience. Yes, it's the Pro League. Yes, it's Belgium. Yes, it's not the standard of the Premier League, but you're not bringing someone in that you have to look at for a few months and go, right, we don't know what sort of player this man is. We know what sort of player this man is, and the good news is that he's very much fitting a model that Arsenal need, because Arsenal, we've seen a lot of clamour over the summer for Arsenal to get a playmaker, and I don't. Sambi Lokonga is not a playmaker, and if you keep hearing me saying Sambi Lokonga, I'm saying it because his last name is Lokonga, but he's going by Sambi on his shirt. So he's wearing number 23, and it's the same with Thomas Partey. Partey's his last name, but he's going by Thomas. So so I'll keep saying Sambi Lokonga until I'm corrected. It's probably Lokonga, but I'm not going to assume. But the best thing about Lokonga, in regards to where he fits in at Arsenal, is that it's not like with all our other midfielders from last year where they could only really play in one position. Lokonga is a midfielder that can cover multiple places and is good enough in most of these to ensure that he's not a liability on the ball. And the best way I can show you this is with our trusty heat maps, all the way down here. Because you'll see that there isn't really, yes, there's a blob here on the left, blob here on the right, but it's very balanced. There's no sense that he has to stay on the left, he has to stay on the right, he likes going down the left inside channel, he likes going down the right inside channel, he doesn't like staying in the middle. He gets around a lot. He's a good engine, and when you go by other people's heat maps over the last season or two, you'll see why Lokonga has a big future at Arsenal just on this heat map alone. And I know I'm extrapolating from not a small sample size, but one map, but you'll see exactly what I mean if I do this. There's Thomas Partey from last season. Now, Thomas Partey played 24 games, started 18. So when we think about Arsenal's midfield, Arsenal's best midfielder by far started less than half the game. I know it's one less, but less than half the games last year. So to expect a bit of improvement just from him alone is not unwarranted. He had a good season. He's definitely our like I say, he's our best midfielder, our most progressive midfielder, but he does a bit of everything. He's not an out and out defensive midfielder. He's not an out and out attacking midfielder. He's just a good midfielder. He does a bit of everything. But you'll see here, he likes his right foot. He likes staying on the right. He can, saunter out on the left a bit, but he likes to be there. So with Lokonga, obviously, going down the left and the right, Lokonga could easily play on the left of Partey. But when you get to everyone else in Arsenal's midfield last year, there's Granit Xhaka. Now, I know what you're saying to me. He played left back a bit. He did. He played left back for a month. But we know Granit Xhaka's limitations, especially on his right foot. So you have to play him on the left of a 2, or, at worst, left centre back in a 3, or, as was in April, left back in a 4. But you have to play him here. You have to. And as a result, the system that Arteta wants to play will be limited when Xhaka plays, just because Xhaka would always be on the left-hand side. And that's not to dismiss his skill set. He's a fantastic passer of the ball. He is not a defensive midfielder, but he's a deep lying playmaker. So he needs someone beside him to do all the defending, basically. And Partey's not that man. And as a result, Xhaka, he has a particular set of skills, but they're not the skills that this Arsenal side needs. Arsenal don't want one lad to sit 40 yards from his own goal and spread the ball around. And I know what you're saying. Look at how much ball he has here. Yes, but even then, it's always on the left, which means the fullback is always going to be crowded by Xhaka, and the left winger is always going to be crowded by Xhaka as well. And his inability to go right means that the defence can look at him and go, right, he's staying there. We know where he's going to be. We now know where the other man's going to be, and it limits what we have to worry about. It limits our decision making because we know Xhaka is always going to come down our left. So having that eliminated a little bit, if Lokonga plays a lot with Partey, because he plays so much, around the middle more, it'll give Arsenal the ability to, create a few more passing lanes, as I'll show in a few minutes. And it's the same with Dani Ceballos. Dani Ceballos, left winger for Real Madrid. Look how much on the left he plays. Again, there was a lot of positional, formation changes, a lot of, interchanging, but this is where Dani Ceballos ended up. Also on the left, a bit in the middle, small bit on the right, but this is where he ended up being. And again, same problem. It clogs up the left. You know where he's going to be 80-85% of the time. You know he's going to be in here. Elneny, the opposite problem. Elneny treats basically the centre circle here as almost, I'm not going any further. I'm staying back. And yes, when you want a bit of cover, Partey's best game last season was against Manchester United when Elneny was doing all his running and Partey was just spraying the ball around. But we know how limited Elneny is on the ball. He accurate per game, 40 passes. It's one of those situations where you take his limitations, and again, the way Arsenal want to play, you can't have someone in the middle of the park who won't pass the ball forward. Can't. It just won't work. Arsenal is built for all 11 players, 10 players, to be involved in the game at all times. And having one player not willing to go past the halfway line too much because of his attacking limitations, two players who stay too much on the left-hand side because either one wants to cut in so much, or two because they're so left-footed. You can't. It limits the ability for your team to create multiple passing lanes at the same time, making you unpredictable. If you're predictable, you can be defended easier. And what Arsenal found was that they were too predictable last year. And clearly, signing Lokonga, someone who's comfortable on both sides of midfield, comfortable with both with and without the ball. Again, 3 goals, 2 assists, nothing great, but he chips in, but he gets up and down. And this is the key, because we try to pigeonhole players into positions. One, either a defensive midfielder, an attacking midfielder, a box-to-box midfielder, a registe, so many names. But what Arsenal need are just good players. They need good players who can not play in several positions, but can fit in several positions whenever the need arises during a game. It's not like we need someone to play left back one game and then centre back the next. It's that we need him to fill in at left back for 5 minutes whilst our left back goes to left wing. We need him to play, attacking midfielder whilst we're 1-0 down. We need him to play defensive midfielder when we're 2-1 up. You need versatility. And what Sambi Lokonga will provide is that versatility beside Partey. Because as much as Arsenal, the clamour has always been for, we need a Kante, we need a Matic, or someone like that. Arsenal and Arteta, after learning under Pep, will tell you that you don't need someone who's just going to sit there and soak up defence and just get the ball and just give it to someone else. You need someone there who's also capable of bringing the ball up as well and being good on the ball. So Kante can do it, and he's unbelievable, but you still play him as a DM. Matic, for years, he just stood in front of the back four and said, you're not getting past. Casemiro a bit the same, but Casemiro and Fernandinho, I mean, Fernandinho's best season for Manchester City was 2017, 2018, and look at this. He's not a DM. And I know you're going to say to me, yes, man, they had a lot of the ball. That's the point. Arsenal, and Mikel Arteta want a lot of the ball. So, yes, they do need someone that's going to sweep up, but they also need someone who's going to chip in as well. They need someone who's going to link up. They need someone who's not afraid of joining the attack whilst also having a little bit of defensive nous about them. And that's why Fernandinho was so valuable to Manchester City over the last 4 or 5 years, because he could do a little bit of everything. You needed him up front to chip in. He was grand. 5 goals, 3 assists. He gets in, he gives it to someone else, or he can just provide another runner. And when you look at this heat map, and you look at this one, you see what I mean? This is what Arteta is trying to build. He's not trying to build a rigid formation with players that fit a certain position. What he's trying to do is this. We've seen over the last 6 months or so that Arsenal have, when especially going forward, they've found the way they want to play, which is, when you see team sheets, let's just say first game of the season, Gabriel's fit. This is probably the team they'll pick. I maybe not putting in Sambi immediately, but let's just say hypothetically they do. We know this is not how they attack. We know how they attack is the following. Tierney bombs on because he's Tierney. Gabriel, this is probably Mari, so we'll put in Mari. Just because he's left-footed, and we know how much Mikel Arteta likes a left-footed centre-back. Left-footed player at left centre-back. Holding will sit in the middle, and Chambers will go here. Now, might this be Ben White? It might be. It very much might be. So, Pepe comes here. Sambi and Partey come here. Smith Rowe goes inside. Saka goes inside. Tierney here. Pepe here. Aubameyang there. And it's this 3-2-5 that Arsenal like to attack in. Now, this is what City do. This is what Chelsea do. This is what Juventus do. This is the meta. If, for want of a better word, if you play video games, you'll know what a meta is, whether there's a certain style or a certain gun or a certain formation you need to play, because it's the best way to cheat the system. This, at the moment, is seemingly the best way to cheat the system, the best way to beat, at least low blocks and, defenders that sit back here. You push as many people as forward. But Arsenal, over the last year or so, when trying to do this, have always had a handicap. And the handicap has always been this player here. Because if it's Xhaka, Xhaka is here. Or, at best, here. If this is Elneny, it's Elneny's here. If it's Dani Ceballos is here. What you need for this to work, and they were trying this against Rangers especially, you need these 4 players, and even with Aubameyang at times, these 5 players, to not have a position. You need Tierney to be able to go here so Saka can go here. You need Smith Rowe to be able to go here so Saka can go here. You need Pepe to go here so Saka can go here. And you'll end up sometimes like this. And you'll end up like this sometimes. Or, even this. These 5 here will rotate and rotate and rotate. But that's fine. But if the goalkeeper is there, if Smith Rowe is there, and they're playing 5-4-1 like this, then 5 players isn't enough. You need 7. You just need, and you need these to push up. And if Xhaka is going to sit back, now it's only 6. And if, like most lower teams in the Premier League, they'll set up with a 5. These 2 will go here. it's very, very hard to find the spaces unless these three players are basically just going to knock long balls into here. Which is what Arsenal did, and it's also how they scored their first goal against Rangers. Holding was here, long ball, it was Tavares, but he got the ball here and knocked it in the far corner. Like, that's going to happen from time to time if fullbacks get too far forward. And that's fine, but relying on, Holding and Ben White and Mario or Gabriel to be your playmakers isn't on. Which is why, if this man can also get in, suddenly you're creating space. Suddenly, if this man has to come back because he has to make sure that Sambi doesn't go over here and Partey doesn't go over here, suddenly these two have to move. If this defender stays with Aubameyang, then this defender has to keep an eye on Smith Rowe. Or you just do a Sam Allardyce and you just let them waltz around you. And you let them do this. If that's what you want to do, then suddenly having two centre midfielders who are comfortable running in either channel is fantastic, because now it means one player here will always be free. Like, it's the more players running around, being comfortable in so many positions, the harder it is for these players to know who to pick up. And if you can cause one miscommunication in the defence, where he comes short and he doesn't go back, that's the whole point. The whole point is to get as many players forward, as many players comfortable on the ball, to be able to cause a little bit of miscommunication and either make them come forward because they're scared of you, which means at the back, or they go so deep in their own box where suddenly it's a case of just not, literally, if they want to knock balls in, fine. Like, Arsenal are trying to create a system where they're not relying on just three players to create goals. Smith Rowe. It's not up to these three. They want 7. And Lokonga will help in this. Just because he's better on the ball than Mohamed Elneny, he's more flexible in where he can set up than Ceballos and Xhaka. And look, if he's going to be purely backup for next season for Thomas Partey, then they've bought fine backup, because at least they'll have someone who can play in the same role, who can get forward, come back, and just chip in. And the more players they get like that, the more players that can contribute to both sides of the ball, the better Arsenal are going to be. This is not, I keep talking about tactics and formations, but Arsenal, what they want to do is cause chaos. They want a defensive 7 or even a defensive 9 to look at these 7 players up front and go, I have no idea where they're running. Just like Manchester City do, just like Barcelona. So, that concludes my review of where I think Sambi Lokonga is going to play at Arsenal. I'm looking forward to seeing him in action. I think it's a smart move. It's just another good signing. Do Arsenal need a few more? Yes, they do, but they're on the right track. I've liked both signings so far. Ben White should be another good addition. There's a plan coming together. Whether you think the plan is good enough, that's up to you. Whether you think the plan is going to work, that's up to you. But they're trying something. And after, a year and a half of Unai Emery literally throwing stuff at a wall and hoping it'll stick, and the last, 2 years of Arsene Wenger where we saw Mesut Ozil playing right wing, it's nice to see a plan coming together and it being implemented properly with signings identified to fit in particular roles. There's the sense that there is a team being built, at least from this humble commentator. If you did enjoy this, again, feel free to leave a like, comment down below if you saw something that you found particularly interesting, and if you want this content on a regular basis ending up in your inbox, hit subscribe. And either every few days or every time there's a big game or Anytime there's a new signing, we'll have a video in your inbox. I've been Stephen Bradley, and we'll talk to you next time. Cheers.